And I'm a professional photo organizer. I have a business called Rescuing Photos and Telling Family Stories. Let's see if I can get the slide moving here the right direction. All right, that didn't work. Maybe should I just use the screen here? That didn't work. Okay, well, we're gonna do something here. Any suggestions?
There's some arrows at the bottom there.
Oh, right here?
No, up, like right there. Right here. There's little arrows.
Ah,
Maybe that would do it.
you are good. Okay, there we go. I might need to put my glasses on. Yeah. Oh,
There we go.
you did it.
It needed the
push. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's my little slide about me. I'm a certified professional photo organizer. So I help people organize, gather, and exactly what we're going to talk about tonight, preserve family photos. I love to speak, so I speak at different conferences. One of them that I love the most is the Ancestry Conference, which happens once a year in Salt Lake City. And so that's one of them. And then a photography conference, organizing conferences, number of different conferences. I'm a board member at Squiggly Valley Historical Society. I just like to share that because I love the history of families and of communities. And that's a way that I can help and give back to our community by pulling out those family stories that are important and sharing them with the community. And also I'm a senior executive ambassador at a company called Forever, which we're going to be talking about tonight as well. So throughout my presentation, you're going to see that there's a little QR code, and I have a handout with a little QR code. So at some point, if you like what I'm saying, I'm going to have you scan the QR code and put your name and email in so I can follow up with you and give you some resources. Okay, so here's my first question to everybody is for you to just begin thinking about where, and this is a question I asked just a moment ago, where are your memories currently living? So all of your family photos, we talked about slides, we talked about albums, we've talked about a lot of things, but in a little bit when we go through creating your own photo plan, we're going to be talking about where your memories are currently living. So be thinking about that as I'm talking about different things, because I might bring out something you're like, oh, I do have that, and you'll think about where that is. So tonight we're going to be thinking about where our memories are currently living. And then we're also going to be talking about how we're going to plan to hand them down to the next generation, because that's the important thing. That's what's important for every generation. They're wanting to hand down their things to the next generation. And, we'll also talk about how my grandmother preserved her family photos back then was in a beautiful album. Now we have the digital world in our hands that we're using. And so we need to figure out, like, how are we going to hand our things down to the next generation? It's not just scrapbooking like it used to be, but there's a lot more tools since we have, the internet and the cloud and the ability to save things permanently online. And then also, have any of you guys done genealogy research? Anybody into the family history?
No.
A little, okay. That's okay. But that is really interesting, kind of like another step beyond. Once you start, preserving all of your photos, you might get interested in that. But usually I ask where that information is living, because we've all heard of Ancestry.com, which is a great place to gather and to find things, but it's not a great place to store your things, because you only have access to it when you're paying your monthly subscription. So when you stop paying, you lose access. So I always say, like, pull everything out of there. Not pull it out, but like have it out. So when you stop with the subscription, you'll still have the information. So that's important too. But if you guys are not doing your ancestry, that's okay. But also consider how your legacy is going to live on, how you're going to be preserving your things and handing those down to the next generation. Okay, so the problem is that we've had photos and memorabilia and things handed down from our grandparents. Some people go way back to like the 1800s, some go way back further than that, some go back to maybe the 60s, the 20s, or whatever it is that you have. But does everybody here, I'm going to see a show of hands, have a family history box or a big scary box? A box of stuff that they don't know what to do with? Yeah, okay. So everybody does, and that's the problem is we want to do our best to preserve these things, but we don't know how, we don't have a photo plan. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. They are important. They're trapped in boxes. They are deteriorating. Like one of you said, they're in outdated formats, so we can't even see them or access them or know what's on them, but we know we need to do something, and we want to be able to make it accessible, even though it's in an inaccessible format. And those stories are being lost with that generation. The slides, the real film. Like nobody has a film player to watch. And in fact, we just talked about this. Who even has a DVD player anymore, right? You have one, okay. But they're not on the new computers that are coming out. So a lot of these stories are being lost to outdated formats. And so we can rescue those photos and rescue those stories as well. And then the last point, the last problem is that sharing has not become easy because our families are spread out. Everybody's living all across the country. You said your a nephew, I believe, is out west in Iowa, right? And how do we share with him? We ship him all the things. So that's an issue as well. So we're going to talk about family sharing too. So let's just look at a photo timeline. I brought a couple of examples from my own story. But back in the 1800s was kind of when photos started taking place, like around the 1830s. And you can see there was all different types of photos in the very beginning. And when you see a photo, you know, from an old time back in the 1800s, you want to save it because they didn't take very many of them. Now we take so many photos, but back then it took them about 2 hours to take one photo. And you can see people's faces are usually kind of grumpy because they had to sit there for so long and to get the one photo taken. And so photos are, you know, these are so valuable and so important, and it's important that we're preserving them. Then in the 1900s came the black and white photo. I think this was like 1925. And then we got into some sepia tones. And then in the 30s, we began having some color prints. If you remember, the 30s and 40s had the white box around those photos, if you've ever seen any of those. And then in the 50s, we went to slides, which are a treasure. Well, I love talking about slides because when we pulled the slides out of my dad's basement and digitized them, we found so many treasures that are just amazing to my family that we'd never have seen before. I never saw those photos until we had those digitized about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. Also, reel film is the way that they videoed as well. And then we moved into the 70s and the 80s where we had the printed photos. We had the VHS tapes and the high 8 tapes going then. And then, as you mentioned, we had the envelopes of 4x6 photos where we had a lot of duplicates and even triplicates. So it becomes an organizing challenge when we have so many things. And being able to pare those down and to really get your collection into like an easy manageable collection is what we're going to I'm going to encourage you to do so that it's enjoyable and it's not overwhelming. But those 4x6s can become overwhelming because of the duplicates and the triplicates. Then we moved to digital cameras in around 2002. So do you guys remember that, the camera cards? And we would take those pictures. I always laugh and kind of make fun of my dad because he thought these camera cards were film. So he has like 40 of them. Like they're so expensive. He just has all the photos on all these camera cards. But surely you could erase these and upload them somewhere and then reuse the card. Problem is I uploaded it online to Kodak and then Kodak went out of business and I lost like 3 years of my photos. Yeah, because they had gone out of business. I have some of them backed up on an external hard drive, but certainly not all of them. And you know, that is another issue of, you know, these cloud storage companies that go out of business and how, you know, we're going to be preserving those things to the next generation. And then we go to, so then we had also, you know, photos on thumb drives. I have a little collection up here of thumb drives and camera cards. Anybody I tend to work with has like a whole basket of all these digital things. So I know you probably do too. If you go through your desk drawers, you would come up with like a little treasure hunt of all these external hard drives, thumb drives, camera cards, just places that digital things that are important are living. And then we moved into the device photos, the phone photos, and the camera roll. And that's where we lost all complete control because we now are taking like 16 pictures of everything and we're taking, you know, screenshots or pictures of shoes, price tags, food, all of those things. So that's a whole other animal that we are not talking about tonight. We're really focusing on the outdated media and the things that are really important to preserve for the next generation. I do speak on digital organizing as well, but that isn't tonight. So we'll table that. But that's just kind of a look at the photo timeline. You can kind of think about what it is that you have on that list as well. All right, so I wanted to share a little with you about my story. I was sharing this with my daughter today that you know, I've always had a passion for photos. And when I needed to work, I used to had a job in a sales career years ago. But as my kids got older, somebody asked me, well, if you could do whatever you want, you would want to do, what would you do? And I was like, I would help people with their photos. I'd make photo books, and it would be so fun. And so it's really neat that I do have a small business now. I've been in the industry now for over 10 years. And my business is called Rescuing Photos and Family Stories. And I help people, like I'm telling y'all tonight, how to get all of these things digitized and preserved to be shared with future generations and with family members. And then I also help people, I always say, show love through photos and print photo books, because you know, having a book to touch and feel a story and to see the stories is so super important. And so that's another piece about what I do as well. But I'm going to show you something here. So let's see if this works. We tested it and it works. Okay. So this is the platform that I use, that I recommend to all of my clients. It's called Forever. So we are going to be looking at Forever while we're talking tonight. And then if you do scan the QR code and sign up to hear from me, I will create a free Forever login for you with 2 gigs of space so you can try it out. Okay, so these are just a couple of pieces from my story, and I have it organized in Forever, so it's nice for me to be able to show you that. Okay, so here is all scanned my grandmother's photo album. So this is when she died. She had made 4 of these, and I never saw them before. Nobody like ever told me we had these. But when she died, we went to her house, and I was enamored looking through these albums, and you know, being able to see in here our ancestors and how beautifully she laid it out, and how she had written down each, you know, photo, who it was, information. And then I didn't bring the album, but when I got to like the 1970s, I saw pictures of me and my name written down. And it just felt like so loving. Like she cared enough to tell the family stories and to preserve them. She had 3 sons. My dad is one of her sons. I don't think they really cared. It wasn't until I got my hands on these to recognize like how amazing this was. And so when she passed away, there was, I think, 4 or 5 of these albums. And the brothers decided, oh, let's just split them up. And my dad was like, I'll take this one. And his brother's like, I'll take this one. I was like, wait, this does not make any sense at all. And so I encouraged them to keep them all together in a collection. And so my uncle kept them, which is where they live, down in Florida. So I always thought about these scrapbooks, and I wanted to go down to Florida and then look at them and learn about our family. But, you know, life is busy, and I was in college and I never got down there to do that. Then they lived in Pensacola. Then there was a hurricane that came through, and their whole entire house was destroyed. Like, I mean, completely destroyed down to the studs. They live on the bay, I guess. So I just thought the scrapbooks are gone. You know, they are destroyed. But it's something that I continue to think about. And then one day I was talking to my aunt, and I asked her, any chance that you still have those scrapbooks? And she said, yes, we took them with us. So they are fine. So anyways, she gave them to me so that I could digitize all of them. But that's a big piece of my story and why I'm passionate about doing what I do, because the love that she showed in there, telling our family stories and our family history, I now can use the tools that I have in this generation to preserve it digitally online, so I can share it with all the family members. We don't have to split those books up, and I can share it to future generations. So this is what it looks like in Forever. So I've had them all scanned. Let's see. Okay.
You have to take them out of the book to scan them, or you have to take the photos out of the book?
No. So when it's an album and it tells a story, I always scan the full page, like not the individual photos. If it is an album that people have just slipped in, then I take them all out, because the album is actually deteriorating the photos. But that's a great question. So it depends upon if there is descriptions, and I would say love shown by putting this book together, or a story, then I want to keep that story. So here I can just scroll through and see every single page. Okay. Now, the next piece of my story is then my other grandmother passed away, sadly. And so we pull out her box of stuff, and this is my mom's mom, and out comes this. And I have 2 little girls, and they love to dance. And I loved my grandmother so much. And in here, she was a dancer. And these are pictures of her in every single dance costume she ever had. And her mom made every single dance costume. And I'm like, why did anyone not ever tell me this? Like, I would love to have asked her about this. It was just very special to me. So it meant a lot that we were able to scan this and to save it. And now me and all the cousins and everybody has access to this in this account that they can come in and look at these things and enjoy them. And this book is now preserved. So here is the album here of this book. Now you can see that this is the metadata as well on this side. So I can see the metadata, meaning what the description is, the date taken. If there were tags there, I could see the tags too. So now I'm able to read the story that goes along with the photos. That's really key, and that's something that Forever allows you to do. Most photo storage sites, if you add story, metadata, when you download it out of their site, they're going to restrict you from taking that metadata with you. So like iCloud, you can put all your stuff in the iCloud. If you start like adding dates, descriptions, tags, it's going to be locked up and only available in the iCloud. So it's really not going to outlive you. It's only going to be available to you while you're paying for the iCloud. When you stop paying for it, then it's no longer, they're going to shut your account down, right? So I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the beauty about Forever is you buy storage up front and you have ownership of it and it never goes away. So I'll kind of explain that in a little bit, but I want to explain the importance and the key of metadata and the story, how you can download it out of Forever, you can share it with people, and it's always going to be attached to that photo. So that's an important key too. So as I kind of scroll here, you can see each of these pages as well. I'm sharing this album in this presentation, but if we were on my computer, I'd be logged into my account. And therefore, at the top of this, I'd have a share button. So I could share this album with somebody via text or an email. So there's great sharing there too. Okay, the next story is my favorite story. So this is the grandmother who was the dancer. And I told you we went to my dad's basement and found a ton of slides. So we took all the slides out. I had them all digitized. And going through and looking at those slides was one of the most remarkable things in my life, because I never saw myself as a little girl because they were all in slides and it was like in my dad's basement. He didn't pull them out to show them to us. And so this slide I found, and there's me with my grandmother. Now, when we did this, she had already passed away, but I never saw that picture before. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cute. It reminded me of this picture that we had taken at a wedding. And it was just so sweet to me to see little and then grown. And so the power of Forever is organizing. So now I'm able to have these two photos grouped together to kind of tell that little story. And that story is written here, that I could go down and, read more of that story. But they're preserved in my account together, so I could remember that story. And last one I want to show you is this reel-to-reel film. So this is now saved. I can make it big and watch it as a movie. I can, this is reel-to-reel. So that's this film here. Again, I never saw that either, but now it's digitized and preserved. I can use a share link and I can share that to anybody. I can text it, they could watch it. And now I can put it up on the TV. All of these things, just like we're doing now, can be on the TV. So like a family slideshow, that kind of thing. But now this is preserved. Okay, so let me go back to our presentation, which I'm not exactly sure where that goes. Hold on a second, I think here. There we go. Okay, so that's kind of how that's a little bit of my story. I hope you can relate to some of those things. But now that's what I do every day is I help people rescue their photos. I have a cute Jeep and I actually go to people's houses and I do the work, or I bring their stuff back to my studio. I have a couple people that work for me in my studio who do camera scanning and photo book creation and all kinds of things. But that is how it started, my inspiration, and I'm very passionate about helping people do that too. So hopefully tonight you guys will gain some things to do your own photo rescue. All right, so let's talk about where you can store the digital files. I already showed you that I use Forever for all my clients, so we are going to talk about that, but I want to talk about the landscape, what the options are. One is external hard drives. That's really what we've been doing, until Forever came around. I've been storing everything on external hard drives. Problem was that external hard drives crash just like computers. So back when I said I lost those photos at Kodak, I ended up gathering all my photos and putting them on external hard drive, but I had to buy two. They were each like $250, so this was expensive. I had to buy two in case one crashed. So my life was attached to this. When I took pictures of my little kids, I'm now having to get on my computer, back up on an external, backup on the other one, and I'm just constantly like doing this backup thing on these external hard drives because I was really worried about losing my photos again. So that's one option that we've had. Then there's also like a computer backup service like Backblaze, which you guys have probably heard of, which just automatically backs up your computer. That's great so you don't lose things. The problem with these things is they're hard to see. So if you have something backed up on your Backblaze or on an external hard drive, you got to go get them, plug it in your computer, go to your file structure, click on the folder, find the photos. They don't kind of come together like a story like I was showing you in Forever. There are cloud storage providers, which is what Forever is a cloud storage provider. And there's 3 types. One, and these 3 types are no good. And I'll tell you why. One is free cloud storage. So Google has free cloud storage up to 2 gigs, I think, or maybe 10 gigs, actually. They keep changing that. But that's an example of a free cloud storage. So with free cloud storage, it's not really free because they are using your information to sell to third parties. That's how they make their money. So example, your Gmail, if you have a Gmail account, Google in their terms of service says that they scan your Gmails and then they gather information about you from your email, and that's how they begin this profile of advertising to you. It's called data mining. Data mining is a huge industry. That's how these companies are making so much money. It means that we don't have our privacy, and that's what happens when something is free. So free is not really free. So it's not a good solution because if you're storing your photos in a free place, there's no promise they're going to be there tomorrow. That's what it says in the terms of service, that there's no promise, and you lose the digital rights. The subscription cloud storage. Okay, so that would be iCloud, Dropbox, those kind of places where you're paying, even like Google has a paid subscription too, you're paying a monthly fee. So it's fine while you're paying the monthly fee, but when you stop paying the monthly fee, according to the terms of service, they will shut your account down and your things will no longer be accessible to you. So if you're looking for a plan that's going to outlive you, that you can hand down to the next generation, a subscription base is not going to work because when you're no longer here, your credit card is not going to continue paying for that forever. So your account will be shut down. Third is an e-commerce cloud storage. This is like a Shutterfly, which is not photo storage at all, but a lot of people use Shutterfly, and a lot of people think that that's a good place to store their photos. But the problem is that Shutterfly is e-commerce. So you have to keep buying from them in order for them to keep storing. When you stop buying, they stop storing. I can't tell you how many people have come to me because they've lost photos in Shutterfly because Shutterfly is attached to an email address that they never check. And then they are, in fact, there was a whole story on the Today Show of a woman whose son was graduating from high school. He was 18, and she went to the Shutterfly account, and it was wiped clean. There was nothing there. She had an order for a while. And she didn't realize that they were saying they were going to take away her stuff because it was going to an email address that she never looks at. So it was a very big deal. And that's the problem about e-commerce. It's all about what you buy. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you download your pictures from those 3 services?
Yes, you
But
have.
then you're stuck with the external hard drive. That's about your only option.
Well, I have another. That's exactly right. But I'm going to tell you about Forever Cloud Storage. This is what I'm using for all my clients. But you're exactly right about that. And I will tell you, like Shutterfly makes it very hard to download.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you can download 2 at a time.
It's like the phone.
Yeah.
Pictures. They're so hard to download.
Yeah. And that's another good point. When you try to export out of the iCloud, they restrict the metadata. So then you're not getting the dates. But I do have a workaround about that with Forever. When I'm working that with my clients, you put the Forever app on your phone, and then you can back up your iCloud into the Forever account, and it takes the metadata. So there are some workarounds with that. But that's a great point. Thank you. So this is Forever Storage. This is very different. This is what I'm speaking about when I go to different conferences. This is really, really big at the Ancestry conferences because it gives this first time ever a permanent cloud storage. So the way that permanent cloud storage works is when you purchase the storage, you make a one-time payment and you own the storage. When you make that payment, the amount of money that you're spending, 63% of that goes into a guarantee fund. That is like an endowment. It's fully restricted. It's only used for the maintenance of your things online over time. So again, you buy your storage, 63% goes in a fully restricted fund, and then that fund pays for your things to be online over time. It pays for digital migration. So exactly what we were talking about, how these formats are outdated. Forever will continue to update the formats of everything in the Forever account, so it will still be able to be accessed and seen 50 years and 100 years from now. no matter what the format is. So that's a really huge point, because, you know, if we keep changing formats, it's expensive to change formats, right? One of you said that you got your VHS tapes put on the DVD, and now we got to get the DVD put on an external hard drive, and now we got to get it. Once you get it in, Forever's done, and Forever will take care of it. You're paying Forever to manage your photo collection now and when you're no longer here. When you pass away, you are still a client to Forever. Forever is still taking care of. It's like you're hiring their tech team, their technology team, to manage your stuff when you're no longer here. So it's really an incredible program. It is set up like an endowment. So endowment economics, it is exactly like MetLife. Hello, hi, you can come in.
Is this the pictures one?
Yes, it is. Yeah, find a seat. So it's like MetLife. It's like an endowment for like a college or a university.
You said 63% because what's the other part?
Go to the company of Forever.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
there's a whole team of software developers, software engineers. You know, it's a
So 63% for the client, and then
yeah. Well, 63% goes right into the fund, and then it's there, and then everything goes into the company to keep the company moving and rolling, and they're all their stuff that they're doing. Yeah.
Are they a truly viable company?
Yeah.
So
They are.
I mean, any company can go under, but.
Yes.
you think
Exactly.
they're strong.
So it's very strong. So they did 15 million this year. I'm very connected with Forever.
Yeah.
In fact, if you guys, I don't know if, I mean, you're from Pittsburgh. Do you know the name Glenn Meekum?
that's his company.
Yeah, this is Glenn Meekum's company. So he sold Free Markets in 2002. He's a genius guy. Yeah, and he's amazing. And so his quick story is he graduated from Harvard, moved here with a business idea to do online auctions. This is when the internet was first starting, 1996. And he had the idea of he started a company called Free Markets. So he wanted to bid out to the free market of the whole world whenever somebody needs a project done. So for example, the Ford Motor Company needed a part to be made to have the windows go up and down. And so they used Free Markets to bid that out. So instead of them just reaching out to the people that were local to them to build that part, they now had a free market of the whole world. And people bid on that. And so they were able to, so it's just a genius idea. So he sold, hi, come on in. Well, hello.
Do you need my names or?
No, you can just have a seat.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, if you can't really see over there, we can put two chairs together if you want.
Oh,
Okay.
Sit right here.
Yeah, you can put them together.
That's good. No, we're good.
Okay, okay. I feel like you're on a bus.
Sorry, thank you.
You can scooch back. It's okay. You're all right. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so he started the company, and so my point is that he knows how to do internet startup companies. He's a really incredible person, and he's very passionate about this because his father, when he sold that company in 2002, his father was getting ready to pass away, and he got the box of stuff. And he's like, what am I going to do with all this? He's like, the only way to really preserve it from deterioration is to digitize it and scan it, but then where am I going to put it? And so that's when he went out and he was like, Dropbox, but when I stop paying, it's going to go away. You know, Google free. Well, if it's free, then there's no promise it's going to be there tomorrow, and they're going to own the digital rights to it. And that's where the idea of Forever was birthed. And then he also sat on the endowment committee for Carnegie Mellon University, and that's where he had the idea of it's got to be an endowment structure like insurance in order to really ensure that these things are going to be preserved over time. It's not just a promise, you know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, we're Forever and we're going to do this. No, there is like, so that fully restricted fund has $18 million in it right now. So the more people that do it, the more that it'll be there, the longer it's going to last. So just based upon mathematics, it's guaranteed that it'll last at least 100 years past your passing. And then the idea is that it's going to last much longer than that. So your point that always a question, what if Forever goes out of business? Well, the point is that if it does, there's still the $18 million that's fully restricted, only allowed to be used on the maintenance of the account. Any questions? Yes.
When was it started, the company?
2012.
it wasn't always called Forever. though.
Yes.
It was?
Yes.
I just want to mention the thing that you're talking about, the reason it's so much better that the fund is going away is if anybody here had lifetime memberships to like a gym, that they went out of business, it was because they didn't have any money coming in anymore because you weren't paying a maintenance fee to keep it alive. And that's
Right.
what this 63% is supposed keep it alive, even though you no longer paying the payment.
Good point. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to describe it. I'll have to remember that. Okay, so when you buy your forever storage, you pay up front and you own it. And so you buy a chunk and then you can always buy more, or you can buy a big chunk and not have to buy more, but you don't ever lose like the amount that you have. You can, in your account, you can upload as much as you want. And then when you hit your storage limit, you can buy more storage, or you can delete some stuff out. You know what I mean? So it works like that. It's completely private. This is very important. We talked about the things that are, free, and they own the digital rights to that. Well, in a forever account, it's completely private. There's no data mining. They're not selling your information to third parties. It's very secure. There's a family and also groups sharing system. So if you have a great family network sharing, but if you have certain groups like, well, I only want this part of my family to see these things, and then, my mom's stuff over here, my dad's stuff over here, you can decide who sees what, and that's pretty cool too. It's easily accessible on an app or any web browser. So you can go to any computer and log into your account. There's a great account manager option. So for example, my mom's account, I'm her account manager, so I can go in and work in her account and do stuff in her account. And then when she's no longer here, I can still manage her account as well. But also, remember, Forever's managing her account, essentially, like overall. And it's very easy to use with support and training. So in my business, anytime I work with a client, that's where we go. So I do all the scanning and everything, and then I put it all in a Forever storage account. And then I love to empower people to be able to use it, because it's so easy to use, to curate their own stories and then share it. And so that's another piece of my job, is to help people learn how to use that platform. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple pictures. So this is just an example of one project that I did. So sometimes they're really big and sometimes they're not so big, but this one was a big organizing project. So I went to the storage unit and got all of these boxes that were full of important family history. And this is what it ended up with when it was finished. Wow. I didn't really show you the process. It was a big process, but I did 2 loads that you saw getting into my Jeep, 2 loads. And this is what it was like when it was done. So now it's all clean and organized in archival boxes, and it's also all on the Forever account that'll be like, living permanently online for future generations to see.
How do you have it? Is it chronological? Is it?
That's a great question. So I typically organize based upon how the clients give it to me and what I find. So, and it doesn't have to be just one way. So in Forever, I can have some albums by person. If I found that, I can also have some albums by date or generation. If I found things that way, because a giant collection like this, I found like a lot of old scrapbooks. And so I have all the scrapbooks done. And then I found a lot of things for like each person, like in the family. So then there's like all the family people, albums for the people. And then I found a lot of things that were decades. So like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then I just put them in decade order. So
you saw that all the things that you made that conscious
I did,
decision.
yeah. And I usually encourage people like to pull out their stuff and what they have, and let's organize based upon what you have. So I was just at a woman's house last week, and she had a bin for each kid. I'm like, perfect. This is how we're going to organize. We're going to organize by child. And so I would encourage you to look at what you have, and then you can decide how you want to organize what's best. But if you were to look inside these boxes, like one box would be maybe scrapbooks. Another box would be a lot of documents. There were so many documents that we had. Maybe several of the boxes are, I meant to bring a box, and I didn't bring a box, but inside there are, each decade. So
the actual photos are in there?
Oh, yes, yes. So 2,500 photos will fit in each box. I know, but some of those boxes just have like albums stacked, like 3 albums or 4 albums. Some of them have a whole bunch of folders inside with a lot of documents, and I think 3 of them have a bunch of photos.
How are they stored in there? Mm-hmm. On what?
So it depends upon what it is, but inside those boxes are like little containers, like archival quality containers that hold like the photos, and then there are like archival quality type indexers that I can put a label on of what they are. And then some of them, and I can, when I'm kind of finished, I can take you on a live drive in my own account and show you. It's just not on this presentation, and I'd be happy to show you inside of those. But then there's some archival quality folders that I have like documents stored in those, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So this is the inside of somebody else's box. and that's family history. So I have like photographic tissue paper in there that's like separating them all. You know, you don't want to use any paper products to be with the photos because that deteriorates the photos, but special things you can use. So that special tissue and that special paper. But you can see I've listed photo box 3 at the top, and then everything in the box is also in the Forever account scan. And so if there's anything written on the photos, I go into the metadata and add that in the Forever account. So now we've got like the date, the name, you know, all of that kind of information. And it's really good because, you know, a lot of times they say that like the grandmother knows all the stuff and the grandmother's got to put all that stuff in there. Otherwise it's going to get lost. And so it's really important to, if we know the information, to record it so it sticks with the photo. So this is an example of one little piece of memorabilia. We do camera scanning too. So a lot of times there'll be like memorabilia that's not like a photo scan, but something else is really important with that. So you can see, you can barely see the person, but after we did a camera scan on it, we kind of brought it out a little bit, and you can see how beautiful it is on the screen, and we can see who she is. And so now we've got her tag, the date correct, and the description of that too. Just an example. So now that's preserved for future generations to be able to access and see. And this is a curating, being able to tell the story, which I mentioned. So description, date taken. Tags are identifiers. So I always say like a tag is a good way to identify a photo, a person's name, anything you might know about it that you might want to go back and find later. Maybe it's a location. But you know, that's like, for example, family heritage photos. If I click on family heritage photos tag, it's going to pull up all the family heritage photos. And so it's nice to tag things by category too. And then that photo lives in 2 different albums. Okay, so now we turn our attention to your photo plan and what you're going to do to preserve your photos. And I'm going to start with what I call the photo fire drill. And I'm going to tell you what that looks like and a couple of tips and tricks, what you can do yourself. So with that, well, hold on a second. Actually, let me go to this side. Yeah. Hold on a minute. There it is. Let's talk about this and then I'll go back. So this is the photo fire drill that I usually tell people to do first. And these are my little handouts I'm going to give you. And we're going to spend a minute kind of writing down where you think your things are. If you have a pen. If you don't have a pen, I might have a pen. So I also said on here is a place with a QR code at the bottom. So before we leave, if you're interested in kind of following me and letting me help you with this process, it doesn't cost you anything. I can do that if you scan the QR code on this card, put in your name and email address, and then my assistant will send you an email. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then we'll also set you with a free 2 gigabytes of forever storage, which will allow you to try forever, see what it's like, and then also, if you confirm your account, you would get a $20 coupon to Forever too. So that's a nice little perk as well. Okay, so your photo fire drill is to write down an inventory basically of where your things are living. So we're talking about photos, frames, albums, scrapbooks, slides, video reels, and documents. And so go ahead and start writing down the item, where it is, what it is, and where it is. And as you're doing that, I'm just going to tell you a little story how the photo fire drill came to be. My mom, after my grandmother passed away, we were trying to figure out the whole photo thing, splitting up photos, and you know, everybody living all over the country. We're like, this is just not a good plan. And she was decided one night in bed, wow, if something happened to my house, where are all my things? I want to get them out of the house. And she started thinking in her mind, she couldn't go to sleep that night. She started writing it all down, and she got so overwhelmed. She was like, I quit. There's no way I can ever save everything, because I've got albums in the basement. I have important frames on the 2nd floor. I have VHS tapes all under the TV still. They're on every floor, everywhere. And so that is how I like to start off with a photo plan, is just writing down what you have and where it's located. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that.
So when you say where it is, like what location, the house? Or
yes, in the house. Like I have frames. Yeah,
okay.
I have frames on the 2nd floor of my family, right? Frames, or a box, a family history box, which we call the messy box, like the scary box.
Shall never be open.
Another common one is just a box. We all save stuff in bins, our kids' school photos, their artwork, documents, things are important, cards that people have sent to us. Mhm.
Do you have another pen?
Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna add that to my list of things to write. Is a pen. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else need a pen? Let's see if I have another pen. Aha.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Is there anybody on Zoom? Oh, there's.
Go on Zoom.
Hello, everyone.
Use Zoom.
No, we're talking to you guys and to Zoom.
Oh.
I didn't even say hello to Zoom. Hello, Zoom. Yeah. So if you're on Zoom, I'm sorry you don't have a handout. I could have put one in the chat for you to print out, but you can just want to be safer. But the QR code on the screen, you could scan that since you don't have a card. Okay, so you get the idea of that, and it's something you could go home, take this card with you, and continue working through that process, because that really is the key, is to know where your stuff is, and that's the first step in organizing your things. What is a family photo plan? So it's sorting through that family box of memories, determining what's important to keep to tell the story. We don't have to keep everything. It's overwhelming because we have so much. So just being able to get in there and pare it down will make it enjoyable and easily accessible. And then the next step is to scan and digitize all of that outdated media for easy access and sharing. And then to begin identifying and describing the photos to keep those stories alive. We've talked about that. And then you're going to determine where to preserve and share these digital files. My recommendation is forever. You don't have to use forever. You can make another plan, but that is something I speak about and I do with all of my clients. I really believe in it. And I believe that's the only way that your stories are going to make it to the next generation, because just at this client's house, and she was telling me that she had everything scanned already and it's on external hard drives and she couldn't find it. And I know. So we're working together, and then she's like, oh, I found it. It's like this tiny flash drive. I am not kidding. It's like that big. And it was in a little envelope in the drawer. And I'm like, this is exactly what I say. Like, you know, I don't want to say anything about her, but I do say oftentimes, like, if somebody passes away, I've had somebody very close pass away, you are so in grief for 2 years that nobody thinks about, oh, let me look for the family photo collection that might be in a drawer somewhere. Like, there's so much that's happening that, like, that honestly can get lost or thrown away in a second. So that's the other reason why I don't believe in external hard drives, and I do believe in forever. So, okay, so creating your family photo plan is, first you're going to do is gather all the memories, scan and digitize them, determine the location to save them. We talked about forever. Then curate that collection, set up your family sharing network, which we haven't really gotten into right now, but that's something that I can, you know, if you're working with me or following me, I can show you that at another time. And then show love through photos. So this is going to take another direction for just 1 second, because I want to show you something else that I love. And this is another thing that Forever offers. So I'll talk about the whole platform, but one thing is, you know, when we're organizing all of our stuff, we can then create photo books, or I always say show love through photos. So this is a cool project I did. My dad canoed the Boundary Waters in 1965, I think. Maybe it's 55. No, 65. He was a beast. See, that's him and his twin. They did like a 2,700 mile canoe trip. Like, people don't do that these days. In the Boundary Waters of Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when we went through and found all those slides, I also got the slides from this trip. So I made him a book and told the story, and it's a story about him. And I got all the newspaper articles and scanned them all and made a book for him. And this was his journey. And I wrote it so he could write notes inside this book. There he is. I'm going to show you, like,
Save.
Oh, this is a picture of him with the fish. Isn't that cool? Yeah. But anyways, my point to you is that this is telling the story, right? So we're doing the work, we're gathering the stuff, we are digitizing it and getting it into a Forever account. But once it's there, I love to inspire and teach and show people how to print it, because this is what like is really magical. Another one I will just share with you. There's a whole print shop at Forever that you can do this very easily. I have a daughter who's graduating this year, and when she turns 16, I have all my photos organized in Forever, and I have a tag for her best photos. So when she turns 16, I just hit auto book. There's an auto book feature, and I printed out a book of all of her best photos of her whole life. And it didn't take me that long because I had all of them together in one album for her. And then, I just clicked on it, and then I arranged some of these, but it comes already set up like this. So there she is, and getting ready to graduate from high school. So it goes fast, but it's just an organizational way to organize and then also to print and show up.
So once, if they're in this book, how, are they preserved for how long in that
So all,
format?
yeah, so first of all, they're in the Forever account.
Correct.
Okay,
But
but
I mean,
they,
with that,
yeah, the books printed at Forever all have archival paper quality. They're guaranteed to last 100 years. So they are archival as well.
If you didn't want to use their books to print, you have one, is it easy to take your
Yeah.
pictures out and send them something?
Yes, you could download them, you can do whatever you want to with them. But one thing Forever really values itself on is their quality of print. You can order prints, you can order so many things. It's kind of like Shutterfly, but it's private and you own everything. But you can definitely download and do whatever you want with them. Yeah, that was kind of a side note, but I love that part. So I wanted to share that. All right, so we've done the photo fire drill. Now we're going to talk about some organizing tips. How are we doing on time? Good? Okay, it's good. It's not snowing outside yet, so we can keep going. Okay, organizing tips. It does feel overwhelming. I do know that, okay? Because I come alongside people and help them. But if we break it down piece by piece, it is going to be less overwhelming, and you can actually do this because it is overwhelming because there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't need. And when I go pick up for a client and do it for them, you would be so surprised at the amount of trash that comes out of the collections, because all of the paper, all the envelopes, so many things, all the duplicates, we talked about that, they don't need to be in your collection. I always say this is a hard thing for a lot of people, but get a garbage bag and throw them away. It's okay to throw things away, because if we don't, then it's going to be too overwhelming to go through everything. So let's try to reduce your collection and make it manageable so that it will be enjoyable. When you're going through and organizing your photos, first thing to do is go through, like I said, get rid of all the duplicates and the duds. So duplicates, you know what that is. And duds are pictures that are just not necessary to the story. So we used to take in rolls of 24. So imagine you have a pack of photos, 24 photos, and it's like your kid's first birthday party, which you would not want to throw away any of those photos when he was 1 or 2 because they were so important to you. But now looking back, you do not need 24 photos of your kid's first birthday party, right? But we do want to know the story. We want to remember the day. We want to remember what the room looked like, what the cake looked like. We wanted to see him take his first bite. We want to see grandma and grandpa there. We wanted to see, the other people who were in attendance, maybe him opening a gift. But that's all we really need to tell the story. We don't need like 6 pictures of the table and everybody looking different directions, maybe 1. But if we go through and kind of pull out what's important to my story and get rid of the rest, you're really going to be narrowing things down, and it's going to be enjoyable. Your kids don't want to look at all of those photos. Trust me, this generation, they won't ever. But if you pull out the best and you have it in a digital format, they'll actually enjoy seeing those stories. So I like to teach the ABCs of photo organizing. So this is a good way to decide if it's a photo I should keep or if it's a photo I should not keep. So A photos are your best photos, the ones that you might put in a frame, okay? So we all know what the A photos are. In fact, when I did this book for my daughter, I've been using Forever now since 2012. So whenever I have pictures that go in there of any of my kids, I'll tag them if it's like an A photo, if it's like one of the best photos. I don't need to have my account set up that I have a tag for every photo she's ever in my account. I only want the best ones. So that is how I was able to create this book so fast, because now I have like 600 pictures of the best photos of her since she was in kindergarten. And so that's the same thing as you're organizing physical photos. The A photos are your best. The B photos are subordinating photos that help tell that story of the A photos, and they're good photos too. So when I said the kid's first birthday party, they're the ones with the grandparents sitting there, the table, what the cake looked like. You wouldn't necessarily frame that, but it's really important to the story, and they're good photos too, so keep those. The C is the garbage can. Throw the rest away. Be okay to throw away, so throw those away. And then the S for the ABCs is my favorite one. So the S is a photo that might not be a great photo, but it tells a story. And it means something to you because of the story. It might be out of focus. It might be, of nothing that you would think is special, but it reminds you of a great story. And the thing I love about Forever is you put that in Forever and you can tell that story in the description. So those are S photos are the same as an A photo. All right. Let's talk about what my toolkit is. So what are the things that you might need? So first of all, I always encourage people to clear a space, like have a table that's set up just for your photo organizing project. So you have a place to go to do this work. You can walk away from it, you can come back to it, but just have a place so you're not constantly bringing things out and putting things away. When you're doing the ABCs and the organizing, you can lay out things, depending upon how you're organizing it, by decade or by person. I always say don't get hung up on the year. It doesn't matter if it's 74 or 78. It doesn't matter. Just 70s. Like just go decade. If that's how your photos are organized, just put a Post-it note down on the table for each decade, and then you can start sorting. Or maybe it's by each kid, each person, and then you start sorting. So figure out what way you're going to organize, and then put your Post-it notes out and start organizing that way. Okay, a couple of things that I always take if I'm doing a project with someone. So gloves, if you have like really old deteriorating things. I don't use gloves for like all the 4x6s, the photos from the 50s, all of that. But if there are some really old 10 types of those kind of things, you will want to use gloves because your oils in your fingers are not good for those photos. Post-it notes, like I said, to place on the table. Another good thing is to have sort boxes. So just a shoe box with, it can just be index cards, but I use these. And then, put your photos in there based upon however you're organizing. Just gives you more space on your table. I always have like tools. What did I put on my list? I always have a bunch of tools because, you have like a frame or something. You're trying to get the photos out. There's always a bunch of little frames. Get all the photos out of the frames. Probably throw away the frames. Take the photos out. Those are A photos because they were in a frame. They must be scanned. So I always have these kinds of things on hand. I always have tiny scissors because a lot of times there'll be tape on stuff and you just want to clip that tape off. That's deteriorating the photos. Dental floss, why do I have this? For a good reason. Oftentimes albums your photos might be stuck, like especially those albums that are sticky, that are magnetic. You want to get your photos out of there unless they tell a story like I showed you before. But otherwise, take those photos out because those album pages are deteriorating the photos. So you can take dental floss and just go through the back, and that will help to unstick a photo. I also use this great tool. That's not the one that I like. The big scissors. Where's my tool? Here's one of them. But this is another way to get a photo. Yeah, a scraper. I hate this one. I have another one, but you get the idea. This goes underneath. And this is like an icing. It's for icing. But it really helps. Magnifying glass is a really good thing to have as well. A cloth to clean up, like to dust things, because things are going to be dirty. And so this is a nice cloth. I should have brought these. I have these. Anyways, that you can just clean off things with just some kind of a cloth. I have a air blower. You don't have to have this, but that sometimes is helpful as well. And then, so I think that's pretty much all of the things that are really in my toolbox.
Do you mark the photos in the back while you're doing it?
Do what?
Do you mark it
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so photo pencil. I do have that in here somewhere. So they have pencils that are just for photos, and you can definitely write things on the back of the photo, but I would use a photo quality pencil for that.
Where can you get one?
Yeah, so it's so funny that you say that because I have a kit that I sell. I haven't sold it in a while, but that has everything in it. So maybe I will put that back together again, because I have a company that I order from as a professional organizer that I have the ability to order from this company. That's where I get my archival boxes, my pencil, a lot of these things. But I'm sure you could get it at like Michael's or something. You know what I mean? Like one of those craft stores or something. So, okay, a couple other things. Digital uploading tools. So when you're uploading, you know, and I upload everything to Forever, as you know, the external hard drives, camera cards, all those things, CDs, there are different tools. Like here's a CD port, a DVD, so you put this in. Problem with DVDs is that they're typically read-only files, okay? So if you had your VHS tapes converted to a DVD, that DVD is probably a read-only file, meaning that it's gonna play, but it's not gonna extract. So you have to have it, you have to have someone extract it for you in order to save it as a digital file. I'll talk about that in a minute, but if it is just a file structure saved on DVD, then you can use this. And there's different camera card ports, you know, to put into your computer in order to upload these things. Now, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm telling you a little more than I normally do on this class, but I will say that there is a software that goes along with Forever that's free for 60 days. And it's really powerful. And I use this with all my clients, but you can use it too. And I have video training to show you how to do this. And that is if you have a whole pile of camera cards and external hard drives and such, you can use Valet to upload all of them in. Just keep uploading, but you could set it in Valet so that it's going to upload it and organize it by year and month. So when it gets into the Forever account, there's a structure in the account that has different albums for the year with all the months underneath it. And wherever those photos are living in all of those together, it'll just organize it like that. So it's like an organizing tool that's really fantastic because you don't have to do that yourself. Yes.
Would it, if there were duplicates,
Mhm.
say you've got it saved in
Yeah.
on this one and this one, and
That's right.
then would it
Great
get rid of
question.
those, or?
So it does not bring in duplicates. So that is good. However, here's one thing. Oftentimes when you think you have a duplicate, it's not really a duplicate because it's not exactly the same metadata. So a duplicate has to have exactly the same metadata to be a duplicate. So if it has the same, it's not going to upload it twice. But when you, for example, if you had a photo that was in the iCloud and then you brought it from the iCloud, they're going to change the metadata. If you're bringing it out of Shutterfly, they're going to change the metadata. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're doing this and you're like, oh, why is this duplicate not working? Well, it's not the same metadata. So great question. Okay. Or was
Could
it?
you
Oh,
explain
yeah.
what metadata actually is?
Sure. Yeah. So metadata is the information attached to a digital photo. And there are lots and lots of fields of metadata. So on your phone, when you take a picture, you can see all that information like the camera, settings, location, date taken, all of that. In Forever, they display the fields of metadata they display are file name, description, tags, date taken, date uploaded, and what album it's in. And then location on your phone through the Forever app, but not in the web browser. So if you upload photos into Forever, here's one very important piece of information. Whatever metadata is with the photo when you upload it, when you download it, that metadata is going to stick. If you change the metadata while it's in Forever, which is a very unique thing that you're able to change metadata in Forever, that's not a very easy thing to do. You know, you might have to have like a program like a Lightroom to be able to do that, which is really difficult to use. Forever makes it really easy. You just click on edit and then you can add all the information. So easy. Then when Forever downloads that photo, it'll rewrite all that metadata that you've added and download it with that photo. So that is another thing. The other thing that's important is the file size of the photo that you upload. You can download that file size. So Forever's not reducing the resolution like a lot of other places will.
Can you keep the original and then have a changed version?
Yeah, you can. Yes. In fact, there's a setting in settings that you can say download new metadata or just send out the photo as it was. Yeah. That's a great question. And then I didn't bring the archival boxes that I wanted to show you. Okay, but I have another, I do want to show you something else, and I can go to it, but okay, scanning. So I want to talk about this with you. With Forever, one of the things they do really, really well is scanning and digitizing. And I'm going to just show you on this web browser real quickly. Let me go to Chrome. I want to show you this. Are you okay if I do this, Katie?
Yeah, I was gonna change one second.
Okay. You are very good. Is it working? All right, so is the volume on this? I'm assuming it is. Okay, I'm going to show. Why is that not doing? Okay. I'm going to show you a little video about Forever. This is more than I normally do, but you guys are hanging with me. So the volume is not working.
Turn it down so that you weren't.
Oh, yeah. Can I turn it back up?
Or something.
Can I turn it up?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
There's a microphone on the other
It's on
side.
the
of
right
the
side of
wall.
the
On the,
computer.
on
the
the
bottom.
screen,
That one
on the
just
screen,
lower
there's a
right.
volume.
Right here?
Yeah.
No.
That'll just be for the video.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, so I just thought I'd show you that. See, but then I want to show you about digitize. So Forever has a whole entire digitization service. I'm not going to go through like pricing and things like that, but the way that it works is you can order a Forever box, and this is what a Forever box looks like. That you can put your outdated media in, and then they'll digitize it and upload it into your Forever storage account. So the Forever Digitization Center is the best in the country. They have the highest quality equipment, technicians, and they care so much about the memories of a person. If there's a VHS tape, they'll run it like 3 or 4 times to get the best quality scan. Other companies like Legacy Box, they don't do that. They're just, get it done. Forever also, for your VHS tapes, for example, goes the extra mile of like cutting off and editing, cutting out the beginning, the end, any dead space, any TV commercials that might be in between your things. They level out the audio, the video, they make sure that they're together, and you get like a really clean, good digital file. The way a Forever box works is it comes in a box like this. You get it at your house. You take the Forever box out, and I have video trainings that show you exactly how to do this. Inside the box comes a couple of things. First of all, you get lots of different bags, more than just this, but different sizes to put your things in, whatever it is that you're sending, all of that outdated media.
Once you have them in all the bags, there's another bag to put it in like this. So everything's in this bag, in this box. It comes with a pamphlet that shows you exactly what they do, how they do it, and gives you all the information about the process. And then there's an inventory sheet on the back that you fill out to determine how many things are in your box. Then, you put your inventory sheet out, put it in here, seal up the box. Oh, it also comes with a FedEx label. So you put the FedEx label back on that box, put this back in here, and you can drop it off at FedEx or schedule a pickup, and they'll come and pick up your box. It's tracked all the way to Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is where the digitization center is. And then in the new process and facility, they are tracking your things. There's QR codes on all of your things all the way through the whole facility. So you have an indoor place where the FedEx trucks come in, so it doesn't go outside, comes right in, goes in, and then your stuff is like tracked on a camera so it can see your stuff throughout the whole process. And then in your Forever account, you can watch the process of what's happening. And then when it's finished, they upload it to your storage account, and then they send you your things back. So that is one way to get all of your stuff done. So I do offer scanning services in Swickly, but I kind of use them in conjunction. So I send away a lot of this stuff, but I do a lot of the photo scanning in Swickly.
And you can combine photos and VHS. And
everything can go in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tend for my clients to do a lot of the 4x6 scanning because I can do it so much. I just do it fast and I go hourly instead of by individual photos. I feel like if you have like shoe boxes of photos, it saves you from me just to do that. Or if you have large things, we do camera scanning. So we'll basically a nice photograph of your images of your things.
Is there a machinery to put a set of photos in it?
Mm-hmm.
Clips
Yes.
through it, so you have that equipment.
I have that equipment. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have a
So
scanner recommendation if you wanted to do it.
yeah,
yourself?
I do. Of the Epson Fast Photo, but I'm going to tell you, I don't recommend doing that because scanning is horrible. Like everybody hates scanning. So you get this idea of like, I'm going to buy a scanner. I'm going to scan all my photos. Great. So you're going to spend $600 on your scanner, and then you're going. And then by the way, after you have to keep cleaning it, when you're putting a lot of photos through, and then you're going to be so exhausted and overwhelmed and done with the whole entire project, where it's better, and you're going to spend a ton of time on it. Give it to me. Let me do it, and then you can sit down and enjoy it and start adding the information, doing the fun stuff, instead of having to do the drudgery of scanning. I don't even like scanning. I have somebody that does that for me. That's right.
So
yeah.
my dad has his World War II discharge papers. They're the really big things.
Yes.
Instead of like and luckily we have it because his records were burned in that fire.
Oh wow.
So so you can do that too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So if you come down to Swickly and bring it to me, we camera scan it, and then we upload it into your Forever account.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can definitely do that. Any other questions? Okay. Does anyone want to see anything else in my Forever account or any examples of what we talked about today? I could show you a client account as an example if anybody's interested.
Maybe just some pricing to see if
Okay.
this is like
Yeah.
even in the realm of.
Is that something I can do, Katie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
Um,
want, I'm gonna end the Zoom.
Okay.
If you want to give them
Yep.
a quick reminder of
Okay.
where they can reach you.
And did you want to see an example also? What if I showed the example before we end the Zoom? Okay. So let's see. I'm just gonna, oh, you know what? I'm not on my computer. So I'm not gonna be able to, I have a couple of clients that don't mind me sharing, but I don't have their information saved on your computer. So I actually cannot do that. If I was on my computer, I could do that. So we'll say goodbye to the Zoom. Goodbye. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you'll scan that QR code, which is probably gone now, but if you need it,
I'll include it in the email.
she's going to include it in the email. Okay, perfect. And put your information in so I can follow up with you. Okay, bye. Okay,